Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. It's February 9th, 2015, and let's get straight into our news tonight. Now, regardless what your faith is or lack thereof, I'm pretty sure you have an inkling that you want to be a good, productive citizen. But if you are a Christian, does your faith mean blanket submission to government? We have the article, Church Asks Followers to Submit to Government, Call 911 on Suspicious Neighbors. According to an anonymous visitor to the Gold Creek Community Church in Mill Creek, Washington, who provided exclusive photos to INFOWARS, attendees were ordered to submit to the state without question. They had police worship today, and last week was military worship, where they played clips of American Sniper, the source said. They were telling people to basically worship the government and worship police no matter what. No mention of police brutality, no mention of the Stingray systems grabbing our data here in the Seattle area. Near the end of the sermon, members of the congregation were asked to raise their right hands and make a pledge, which included to promise to call 911 on suspicious neighbors. Now let's take a look at some of these promises, these pledges that they want you to take. We have the graphic on the Infowars.com site. It says, I pledge to do my best to follow the law. I pledge to thank a police officer or deputy for their service. I pledge to call 911 if I see someone suspicious in my neighborhood. I pledge to watch the back of our officers as they fulfill their duties. And I pledge to pray for the safety of all members of law enforcement. So, you know, I'll give this church as much credit as I possibly can, the benefit of the doubt. But before I give my official analysis on this, let's take this brief look at a flashback, if you will, the clergy response teams.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, you know, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect a suspension of their rights might last.
Now, as the gentleman points out, yes, there is Romans 13 in the Bible, but there are also a few key Bible verses or just Bible stories that you should know in case somebody says, yes, you have to submit to every order from the government. Let's talk briefly about the story of King David. You know, back in the good old days when the kings actually went out to war with their soldiers, they don't do that anymore. They sit around playing golf and basketball and all that. But back in the day, you know, you see movies like 300, which isn't the most historically accurate movie, but the king would go out there with his guys to do battle. But the story of King David is he stayed behind, sent his troops out, and while they were away, he stayed to play, was committing adultery, and then sent his soldiers out to the front line, or a soldier out to the front line, to die in battle. So, you know, even though he was God's chosen, the king of Israel, he wasn't doing everything that God wanted him to do. King Nebuchadnezzar. King Nebuchadnezzar built this big golden statue to himself. He had his subjects come and lay down and worship the statue. There were some who said, no, I'm not going to bow down and worship this image of you because I worship God on high. They were punished for their activities, but God saved them for denying the will of the king Nebuchadnezzar. And also, of course, Jesus Christ. You may have heard of him. He was out preaching the gospel, which was outlawed by the government of the time. So which is to say, if he followed the laws of the land, he never would have preached the gospel. We wouldn't have what we now know today as Christianity. Those are just a few examples of people who rebelled against the governments of the time. Yes, if you have a good, just, God-fearing government, yes, you know, try your best to work with them if you have an emergency situation. But that doesn't mean you lie down and just blanketly do anything they asked you to. And this is a very good story to lead into our next one, lawsuit. Cops put a bag over a woman's head, strap her to a chair, and choke her to draw blood for a DUI test.
What country is this? What country is this?
Holding down and forcing someone to submit to this is really intrusive in terms of that level of invasive procedure into somebody's body is ridiculous for investigating a misdemeanor.
Intrusive, certainly. Invasive, you bet. But legal. Yes, say authorities, even though the law supposedly gives you a choice.
A woman is suing a host of parties after it emerged that cops in Austin, Texas, forcibly took her blood for a DUI test in a scene that sounds something more like it would occur at a Guantanamo Bay prison camp. Caroline Calloway was arrested by police officers after she refused to take a breath test during a routine traffic stop. Caroline Calloway was arrested by police officers after she refused to take a breath test during a routine traffic stop. Ms. Calloway was taken directly to the Travis County Jail, where shocking events unfolded. Calloway's attorney told reporters with Courthouse News that despite only passive and verbal resistance, she was taken to a small padded room where she was surrounded by police officers and strapped into a chair with her legs, wrists, and shoulders restrained. Calloway, who had informed police officers that she suffers from anxiety disorder, uses medication for the ailment, then began involuntarily trembling from anxiety and fear. This prompted the cops to put a bag, known as a transport hood, over her head and deprive her of her senses, and some backwards notion that it would have a calming effect. So basically, they strapped this woman down against her will, took something from inside of her body, and, don't want to put any words in somebody's mouth, but this is not something that I'd really want to submit to as far as government action. So, submit to some things, question other things, but just don't have a blanket lay down kind of deal, especially if you're not sure exactly what the person has in mind. Now we'll move on to something different. You talk a lot about people losing their jobs in this country and all over the world thanks to AI. And something out of a sci-fi movie, you see the old sci-fi movies where the only jobs left in the world are people working on robots that will replace them in the real job market. And that's exactly what's happening in Japan. Robots will staff Japanese hotel. Developed at Osaka University, the eerily human-like robots are known as actroids, most looking like young Japanese women. They can speak several languages and move their eyes to correspond with yours, a feature that could be pretty disturbing. The hotel will be located at Houston Bosch Theme Park near Nagasaki. Rooms will start at $60 a night. I'm actually pretty surprised that the rooms are so cheap. But, this is the whole AI thing that we see more and more. They get rid of Blockbuster. They replace it with Redbox. And now they have these humanoid robots taking you in at the hotels, checking you and taking your bags up to your room. And hey, maybe some people are into that, but I just see more people out of a job. Like I said, the only jobs that are going to be left are working on these robots. And talking more about this AI and this artificial intelligence, Samsung admits private conversations are being sent to internet servers. In responding to privacy concerns over their smart TVs recording private conversations and sending them to third parties, Samsung admitted that voice data is sent to a server during the process. The controversy stems from Samsung's global privacy policy, which advises users to please be aware that if your spoken words include personal or sensitive information, that information will be among the data captured and transmitted to a third party through the use of voice recognition. And I love how they just come out here and tell you that, if you have some private conversation inside your home, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have private conversations inside their home, sensitive information that they don't want the world at large or some big gobby corporation to snatch up, but they at least tell you this. And it's not just in your smart TVs, it's in your phones, it's in your laptops, and it's in all your technologies, these back doors these people use to, whether it's to sell you a new product or just find out what you're doing inside your home. These people are doing this. It's not some conspiracy theory. It's right here in black and white. And going from the black and white to the green, HBC files show Swiss bank helped clients dodge taxes and hide millions. HSBC's Swiss banking arm helped wealthy customers dodge taxes and conceal millions of dollars of assets, doling out bundles of untraceable cash and advising clients on how to circumvent domestic tax authorities, according to a huge cache of leaked secret bank account files. The HSBC files, which cover the period from 2005 to 2007, amount to the biggest banking leak in history, shedding light on some 30,000 accounts holding almost $120 billion of assets. The revelation will amplify calls for crackdowns on offshore tax havens. So this is what happens. A lot of your big boys, your billionaire boys clubs, they go to the Swiss and they say, hey, can you stash my cash? And not only are they stashing their cash there, but they're also being let in with the secrets to hide the money, to get fresh money, to pretty much launder money, basically. And that's what's going on. But if you don't keep your tax receipts for 5 years, they'll come down on you and try to put you into prison. So this is just how they get away with it. And we'll end tonight with this. We'll talk about 42 admitted false flags. And obviously, we can't go through the entire list. It's quite exhaustive, but you can find it all on INFOWARS.com. But we'll go through a few here tonight. Let's start with number 1. Japanese troops set off a small explosion on a train track in 1931 and falsely blamed it on China in order to justify an invasion of Manchuria. We'll go to number 2. A major with the Nazi SS admitted at the Nuremberg trials that under orders from the chief of the Gestapo, he and some other Nazi operators faked attacks on their own people and resources which they blamed on the Poles to justify the invasion of Poland. So we'll start off, a lot of people want to talk about false flags in this country, things like the Gulf of Tonkin, which is also mentioned in here, but it also happens in other parts of the world. It's not something that we invented. We run guns to Mexico with Operation Fast and Furious. We have Iran-Contra, several other things as well, but it goes on all over the world. Let's jump to number 8 and talk about some things happening in this country. The CIA admits that it hired Iranians in the 1950s to pose as communists and staged bombings in Iran in order to turn the country against its democratically elected prime minister. And some actions carried out by the U.S. government. Let's slide down to, let's say, number 18. A U.S. congressional committee admitted that as part of its COINTELPRO campaign, that's counterintelligence program, the FBI had used many provocateurs in the 1950s through the 1970s to carry out violent acts and falsely blame them on political activists. And that does continue here today. We saw, what was it, a couple weeks ago, they came out with that article, that document detailing how George Soros, which, he's not official member of the U.S. government, but he's funding operations like we see in Ferguson, Missouri, some of the unrest there. And there's plenty of grassroots protests in Ferguson, Missouri. I'm not trying to downplay that at all, but you also have these provocateurs, these paid agents, these guys paid to just go in there and stir up stuff. Let's go back to the article. Let's slide down to number 26. According to the Washington Post, Indonesian police admit that the Indonesian military killed American teachers in Papua in 2002 and blamed the murders on separatists in order to get that group listed as a terrorist organization. And it goes on from there. Like I said, it goes all the way down to 42. You have, of course, number 36 is one of my favorites. At the G20 protests in London back in 2009, a British member of the parliament saw plainclothes police officers attempting to incite a riot, to incite violence in the crowd. And you can find the full list on INFOWARS.com. Now stay tuned, because after this break, Paul Watson asked the question, is a recent satanic ceremony just a hoax? And also, David Knight has a full report on what you need to know before you go get vaccinated. Stay tuned. This is the INFOWARS Nightly News.
The knowledge of the ancients, tried and true, trusted herbs and extracts fused with the latest nutraceutical science. Introducing the all-new Ancient Defense Herbal Immunity Blend, crafted with over 14 key ancient herbs and extracts to supercharge and prepare your body for what experts admit is the most dangerous season of the year. We have rejected hundreds of other formulations in our quest to bring you what is simply the most powerful and comprehensive proprietary formula that we have ever created in the realm of herbal immunity. For the last 2 years, our team has been working with top doctors, nutritionists, and chemists to develop the ultimate nutraceutical formulation. Experience the benefits of combining over 14 ancient herbs and extracts with exciting new advances in nutraceutical science. For a limited time, get 25% off on this introductory offer. Visit ancientdefense.com or call 888-253-3139. ancientdefense.com. Every year we make resolutions to lose weight and get in shape. And the truth is, it's hard, even with diet and exercise, because of toxic food and our environment that is stressing our bodies more than ever before. Working with experts in nutrition and biochemistry, I found that super high-quality nutraceuticals, in addition to my diet and exercise, were the answers that synergistically worked. I could see the drastic changes every day with the amount of weight I've lost, my increased stamina, and more of a twinkle in my eye. That's why we are now so excited to launch the INFOWARS Life Resolution Pack, combining 3 essential formulations: oxygen-based cleanser Oxy Powder, the Secret 12 bioavailable vitamin B12, and your choice of super female or super male vitality. Now all available at a discounted price to you and your family to bring in the new year and make 2015 a true success. That's InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. 2015 is the year to do it, and it all starts at InfoWarsLife.com.
An incredibly disturbing video which went viral over the weekend shows 2 British children describing how they were